On a consistent basis, people email us and say, hey, what are the steps that I need to take to get rich? Well, on today's show, I'm going to demystify the steps to getting rich. There's 4 specific steps that you must take if you want to make the copious amount of money that you're saying you want to make. If you want to make millions, this show is for you. If you want to get rich, these are the 4 specific steps that you need to take to get rich in the next 5 years.
Although it's not legal to text and drive, to our knowledge, there are no laws against broadcasting while driving. Here's yet another edition of the Hummer of Love.
Stay on the road, buddy!
On the Thrive Time Show.
Good morning, Thrive Nation, or maybe it's good afternoon to you. I'm not sure when you're going to hear today's Hummer of Love edition of the podcast. But here's the deal. I am driving to work. The official time right now is 3:43 in the morning. And I had a Thriver yesterday I talked to who emailed in a question to info@thrivetimeshow.com wanting clarification on the 4 ways to get rich that I've talked about. There are the 4 steps, the 4 phases to getting rich that I've spoken of at great length at workshops, as well as my friend, partner, and colleague, Michael Levine, the PR consultant for Michael Jackson and Nike and Prince and myself. He also has spoken about. So let me just go over these 4 steps to getting rich if you have a business in America today. So step number 1, you have to be willing to work for free to get your early adapters, your first followers, your first buyers, your first people who believe your restaurant's not terrible, the first people who believe your haircut makes sense. So if you have, I'm just going to use an example. Let's just say that you're out there today and you have a product that you want to sell, and the product could be sold for about $100. Well, it costs you $60 to make it. After all materials, everything, it costs you a maximum of $70. You have to be willing to put that thing at a trade show or in front of buyers in some capacity and sell that thing at cost. Because if nobody knows about your product before, there's no evidence that it works, there's no really proof, no reviews, no testimonials, no word of mouth, nothing. There's an overwhelming bias for people to not want to buy from you. In the world of sales, you're sort of guilty until proven innocent. And so Michael Levine has talked about this before, both on the podcast and at the conference. But he has explained that, when he started out doing consulting, PR consulting, branding, public relations, and marketing for huge celebrities, he moved from New York to California to Hollywood. And when he moved to Hollywood, it wasn't like there was a big parade waiting to welcome him. They didn't roll out the red carpet for him. People didn't just call him and say, "Oh, wow, you have this idea to be a PR guy. Wow, you're the first one ever. We've been waiting for you. Here's our credit cards." No, he cold called some of the biggest names in Hollywood and offered to work for them for free. Do the work for free. Well, how long do I have to do that? Well, he did that for over a year. Now, that's the same story with Puff Daddy, who now goes by Diddy. He was an intern at Howard University for free. Ryan Tedder, my friend from college, who's a Grammy Award-winning musician who's gone on to his group One Republic, just dominates the airwaves. He writes songs for Beyonce and Adele and just huge artists. He interned, worked for free. Oprah interned and worked for free. But what happens is a lot of people have a degree and now they can't afford to work for free, they believe. Or they believe that they have the golden ticket and they don't want to work for free because they're entitled, because they feel like, because I have a degree, you need to pay me. However, what you need is experience. You need to get that reputation going. So when I started DJ Connection, DJConnection.com, I worked at Applebee's, Target, and DirecTV. You say, oh, what's the secret? Well, my secret was I worked at Applebee's, Target, and DirecTV. Three Applebee's, Target, and DirecTV. Say it with me now. Applebee's, Target, and DirecTV. And you might say, well, where'd you have the time to ever work on your business? Well, I wanted to point out we started recording today's podcast before 4 in the morning. And that's how I did it. And that's how I continue to do it. And that is how I do it. If you go to bed at 9 and you wake up at 3, that's 6 hours. Maybe you need 7 hours. You can wake up at 4. Maybe you need 8 hours. Wake up at 5, but at least wake up at 5 and give me a high five on social media. Just get up, move, get up. Most people aren't up yet. It's awesome. The idiots are not awake yet. You're uninterrupted. You have the time to work on your business, but you got to be able to work for free. You got to have some sort of income source coming in as you're building that reputation. Now, what you want to do is, as you are working for free, delivering that product or that service, you want to gather Google reviews and Amazon reviews from real buyers. One, it affects your rank on the search engines, but also, according to Forbes right now, 88%, one study said, and 91%, another study said, 91% or 88% of consumers read reviews before buying something. That is an amazing number. Now, step two for getting rich. Again, remember, step 1, work for free for a year, or under market, or as cheap as possible, or, just get your product or service in front of your ideal and likely buyers. Step 2, year 2, be willing to work for under market, which means you still charge less than everybody else, but you're not doing it for free. Why? Because you have a little word of mouth, a little bit of mojo, a little bit of swag. People like you a little bit. So Michael Levine started pointing out that people started reaching out to him, around his second or third year, saying, "Hey, I understand you work with this big name. I'd like for you to work with me." Or at least they were less scared when he called them about landing their account. So again, what you do is the first year is you work for free, and the second year you work for below market value. Now, year 3, you'd like to work for market value. You'd like to be able to work at least the pay structure the average person in your industry makes. So as a public relations marketing guy, he wanted to charge at least a fee that is normal for his industry. Or with my company, DJ Connection, I wanted to charge at least $600 for most events because that's what my peers in the industry were charging. But year 1, I DJ'd parties for $1. $1. You know how crazy that is to be DJing a corporate holiday party for a major company for $1? I did it though. I did. Now, year 2 though, you want to be able to go in there and work for under market value. You're not as clearly established yet, but you have a little bit of a reputation to build on. DJConnection.com was not the monster that it is now. It was like we had myself and 3 dudes working for me year 2. And I no longer had to work at Applebee's, Target, and DirecTV. I think I just had one side job there at the time. I was working at a company called Faith Highway, previously called Impact Ministries, in a call center where I sat next to a man named Gareth. My direct boss was Jeremy Thorne, and his boss was Larry McClarty, and then his boss was Shane Harwell. Why am I saying these names? I don't know. I'm just giving them to you. So that's step 3. Okay, so now you're working at market value. Now step 4, assuming you're still in business 4 years later, which you should be if you do this system, you can now charge more than market value. People will overpay you. You see, if you've been over delivering the entire time. So again, step 1, you're working for below market value for that first year, but you still want to over deliver. You want to exceed the expectations of every single person you get in contact with. That's how you do it. Now, step 2, we're working for below market value, but not for free, but we are over delivering. We are continuing to exceed the expectations of every person we come in contact with who's paying us. Year 3, we charge the market value of what is normal for our field, but we still deliver better service than anybody else. And then year 4, the market is chasing you because of your reputation and the habit that you have created of over-delivering. Now there is more demand for you than the time you have, and then you can either hire a team of people or you can charge a little bit more. And that's how you do it. But I think people want it to be easier. I'm sure that you don't feel that way, and our listeners don't feel that way, but other people, I just see people all the time. I meet people who will email me, or people I've met at conferences years ago who would say, I just can't fund my business. I don't have the money to advertise right now. I don't have the money to launch AdWords or retargeting ads, or to do mass mailers, or to do Facebook ads, or do a billboard, or whatever kind of marketing you want to do. What advice would you have? And my advice would be, get a job at Applebee's, Target, and DirecTV. All three at the same time. You know that pretty much always, Target is pretty much always hiring. They're always looking for somebody to pay, not minimum wage, but close. And Applebee's maybe Applebee's isn't the spot anymore. I don't know. I never go outside, but Applebee's, I see now hiring signs in front of restaurants. And DirecTV, the call centers, they're always hiring. And so Clay, why did you choose those three jobs? Because I had no discernible skills. I didn't have a college degree. I didn't have a reputation. I didn't have a big resume. I had nothing. And so I took the entry-level jobs. And when I worked at Target, I tried to once I read Think and Grow Rich and kind of figured out how life worked, I decided just to over-deliver. And at Target, I learned a lot about retail, which I still use today to display the products that we sell in some of our businesses. Like Elephant in the Room Men's Grooming Lounge. The things I learned when I was 19 years old working at Target, I still use that today. How to make call scripts and how to call people properly and phone etiquette. I learned all of that working there in that call center at DirecTV. DirecTV, I learned all that. Applebee's, I learned I definitely don't want to be a waiter, but I also learned how to sell with some sizzle. I remember my boss used to run around all the time saying, sell with some sizzle. Sell with the sizzle. You got to bring the sizzle. So I'm running around trying to sizzle everything on the menu for shizzle. Because everybody who worked there, you got paid almost nothing. You got paid below minimum. I'm not sure how they can do that, but in restaurants, you get paid almost nothing, but then you get tips if you're good, And the goal is to try to convince every adult that comes in there to start off with a beverage that's not water. You're trying to bust every diet in America. You're trying to convince them to do a Coke or an orange juice or an alcoholic beverage. You're just trying to get every single person to get an extra beverage to start. Then the next game is you want to convince people to get an appetizer. The next game, you want to convince everyone to get an appetizer. You want to break that diet. And then step 3, you want everybody to get a nice entree. No splitting meals. We're trying to destroy diets and get tipped here, people. And then step 4, you want to sell that dessert with the sizzle. And this guy, no kidding, Ian was his name. This dude could sell virtually anybody, anything, every time. You'd go in there and that guy would just somehow racking up 3 or 4 times more tips than I got. But rather than getting bitter about it, I asked him, how do you do it? What do you say? He said, well, you could shadow me if you want to after your shift. Well, I didn't get paid to shadow him. I hope somebody's having like an epiphany here. Nobody wants to help you. Nobody does. You got to be willing to work for free. So you think that our top waiter wanted to pay me to shadow him to learn how to sell? No, but he let me shadow him. And I worked at Faith Highway. I was terrible at sales. So I asked Ron Hood if he would train me. And do you think Ron Hood, our top sales rep, wanted to pay me? No, he didn't want to pay me. So I had to shadow him. Buy him dinner. If you want to learn a new skill, nobody's running around with a burning desire to pay you or to teach you new skills that are going to help you pay your bills. So you've got to be willing to work for free. That right there, my friends, those are the 4 steps that you need to take over the next 3-4 years if you want to become rich. Again, be willing to work for free. To learn the skills and the reputation needed. Step 2, be willing to work for below market. If you're trying to get that dream job, go in there and say, I'll work for free. Step 1. Step 2, say, I'll be willing to work for below market. Year 2. Year 3, I'll be willing to work for my normal wage, And then year 4, everyone will be chasing you. You'll have so much reputation and swagaliciousness that the market will come to you. And that, my friend, those are the steps for getting rich. We've had all this fun together, and it's only 3:57 in the morning. Now, if you're saying to yourself, I don't have time to do these things, I suggest you would wake up at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. or any a.m. you want. Just wake up early enough to get stuff done. You only need 6 or 7 hours of sleep. And then also, I would suggest, if you don't have the money to get started, I would suggest as a bonus idea, you would get a job at Applebee's, Target, and DirecTV all simultaneously. Get yourself about 80 hours a week on the books. Get yourself, $900 to $1,000 coming in. Maybe get just a second job, get a side hustle, get some kind of payment coming in here so you can afford to fund that startup. Because the world didn't care about DJ Connection when I was trying to start it. They didn't care about OxyFresh when Jonathan Barnett was getting that going. They didn't care about, I'm trying to think of businesses that I'm involved in. They didn't care about Elephant in the Room when we started that. The market didn't care about Thrive when we started that podcast. And you just gotta make time for what matters. And I would humbly suggest that you make time by getting up earlier. Why don't we just get up tomorrow at 4 a.m.? Can we do that? Can we get up at 4? Maybe 5. I don't know. Just find the time that works right for you. Make sure you get enough sleep, and then get those jobs. Applebee's, Target, and DirecTV. Those are the 4 steps for getting rich. My name's Clay Clark. I appreciate you so much. Hopefully that answers your question, and I hope you guys have a great day.
Well, it would almost be unethical if we did not end the show with a boom. So now, without any further ado, 3, 2, 1, boom!